everyone, welcome to darkfaetarot. You are joining me on the end of another typical Western Europe spring day in Brussels. Welcome to new subscribers, welcome back to those who already know me. So yes, we do have a bit more daylight, but it's quite overcast and a bit chilly. It's spring in Europe, yay! Well, so welcome back anyway, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this channel. Today I'm going to talk about a deck that I picked up a few weeks ago, and that is the Jupiter Power Tarot. Now, this is a deck by Six Sad Girls, that's the name of the company, and the creators are Charlie Quintero and Camille Smooch, if I get that right. And I picked this up at a local boutique. I paid 80 euros for it. I think it's retailing somewhere, all their decks are retailing around the 70 or the 80 euro mark. Now, the other decks they've done is the Star Power Tarot, the Moon Power Tarot, Mars Power Tarot, and then there's also Naughty by Nature. That's also by them. I could have missed another one, but that's the ones that I am aware of. So anyway, I grabbed this because I saw it on Tarot's website, her YouTube channel, and this was the first deck I bought of theirs, and I fell in love so quickly I just had to purchase it. So today I'm going to do some musings. It's not quite a review, but it's my musings behind this deck, and a bit of a spoiler. I love it, and if you are drawn to this deck in any way, I say do not hesitate because it is stunning. Of course, never ever put yourself in a financial difficulty. That's not what I promote, but rather, if this is within your realm, kind of, and something that you are attracted to and you want to buy something for yourself, this deck is just superb. So anyway, I'm going to go into this deck, and later on there will be some pairings, but first I really want to talk about the deck. So it comes in a two-piece box, comes apart like this, and there is a little guidebook in there which we're going to look at a bit later. So I'm going to put that to the side. I'll put these to the side there. There's nothing inside the box, but at the back here you'll see it says Jupiter Power Tarot, Charlie Quintero, 78 card tarot deck made with magic, love and insomnia, and it's sixsadgirls.com. Just so you know, they also sell apparel and things like that, so if you're interested in any of the art and you want to check out what else that they're selling, I would just suggest going and having a look. Okay, so let's get these out. Now I have put them back in order. These are the backs. For just for the sake of it, I'm actually going to do a walkthrough. Originally, I wasn't going to, but I've decided I'm going to do a walkthrough. If you don't want to watch the walkthrough, there are timestamps. Just click and you can go through to the next section. Okay, so we're going to start off here with the Fool. Just so you know, I've put this in the order that I regularly put decks in order. I think it came slightly in a different way. But anyway, we'll just go ahead and have a look. And as I showed you before, mine are silver edged. So sometimes I think in different editions the edging may differ, but mine's this silver edge. I think this is the edition that was made with Kickstarter, the Kickstarter for this deck. And there goes my trusted siren for the evening going past. Okay, so this is the Fool, and you're going to see straight off the bat that there is a lot going on with these cards, even though they're so simple. Each of the cards has a specific flower depiction on it. Charlie Quintero, I think she is like the sole artist of the deck, is just an amazing illustrator. I have noticed that, first of all, let's look at the actual style of the paintings, of the drawings. I call them paintings because they're just works of art, basically. She's very, very good at drawing these. I mean, this is a carnation. She's very, very good at drawing the flower in its authentic nature, let's put it this way, sorry. And yet at the same time, sorry, that's not zooming properly. At the same time, you'll get a depiction of the actual key. And even though these drawings are so simple, I mean, that's not easy to do. I think that she captures these facial expressions very, very well. Normally, I don't like, is it anthropomorphic depictions, but I never felt this way in this deck. I didn't even think about that, So perhaps because it's a cartoon nature at times, At times we get some very distinct drawings here. I love this one. She's got even elf ears. Very, very well done. The line drawings, just you can see that they've taken time and she's really thought through. I think Tarot had said that this is like a praying mantis, and indeed this does look like a praying mantis. Very clever drawings and depictions. When we see the card, because clearly there is a label, there's not a case of, oh, I'm not sure what this is. I think that's great. I find it helpful, especially in a deck like this, that I'm not left guessing like, oh, is this the Hanged Man? But her depiction, her style of drawing is the first thing I wanted to point out. And that even though we see really just more of a monochromatic theme, the detail is exquisite. So the other thing I want to point out is, of course, the color, which I've just mentioned here. So there's a lot of muted blues, muted grays in there, a very cool color palette. And then we've got this very striking, this one's monochrome. We've got this very striking, sometimes blue coming up as well. You'll see this is like a mint. And so the cards sometimes have a little bit of a mixture of color. You'll see that also it's not a permanent black background. We've got this like cosmic effect going on at the back. You might have guessed already, but this is glossy, this is smooth, and I think this is 300 GSM, not more. So they are quite thin in that sense, but it's good quality. I don't know how else to put it. So it doesn't feel like she's skimped on the quality. This is just a choice of cardstock. I just really found that the color palette was very, very clever. It's almost like looking at a fashion collection, and of course Charlie Quintero and Camille Smooch also design clothes. So I think that really comes through in their decks, and it comes through in this one, that I feel like I'm looking at a clothing collection of like a season, something that I might see on the runway, those kind of things, where there's a certain set of colors that are used as certain styles, and there's variations in the collection, but it all comes together, and I feel that way with this deck. So I'm just going through each and every one. I'm not going to read out, of course, I'm not reading out all of them, but I just wanted you to have a look, because I thought, because I'm going to do this, sorry, it's not zooming too well, is it, today? Because I'm going to be doing such an extensive musings, I thought, well, I'm going to do a walkthrough then. This deck deserves that. There's just so much going on in the imagery. I mean, we have like, it's very facey again, right? We're seeing a period of very face, I don't know how to put it, up close and personal decks. And we've seen it with Julia Jeffries, right? She's the quintessential look at the face kind of thing, look at the expressions, look at the expression of the body. There isn't much going on in the background. And in this deck in particular, a Botanical's deck, Charlie Quintero has done that actually, and I think she's done it very, very well. So I'm really seeing a theme right now with artists. Sorry if that's not zoomed properly. I'm really seeing a theme with artists right now where they're very, very up close and personal and displaying the emotions of, let's say here with the Six of Wands, with victory. And I think it takes a lot of work. I think it takes a lot of creativity, and kind of like really mulling it over. I've also got now another tier of Charlie Quintero's decks, and I've not put them all side by side. If you follow Six Sad Girls on Instagram, what the creators are doing right now is they are showing their decks with each of the keys, all the decks together, which by key. So for example, the 10 of Wands, like the Hierophant or something, they've shown that from each of their decks, so you get an idea. And also looking at that display on their Instagram, what I realized was they're not a one-trick pony. That's what I wanted to say with Charlie Quintero, that she's not a one-trick pony in how the art is made. I see actually the distinction between the decks. How can I put it? So yeah, I've talked about the color palette. I think it's absolutely amazing. Let's go on to kind of like what we're actually seeing, right? So we're seeing up close and personal faces. We're seeing this very witchy theme, the Witch of the Green kind of thing. Some fae energy in there as well. She's having fun with botanicals. I mean, the creator's just really expressing herself through her image, her thoughts around botanicals, her imagination. And again, like, you know, I'm a lay person when it comes to art. For me, if an artist can give their take and help me understand what they're seeing, help me understand how they feel about it, I think that's amazing, actually, personally. I know art is meant to be also about the viewer, but I really like thinking about, like, what was the artist thinking when they made this originally? For me, as the viewer, as the consumer, or how you want to put it, the reader of a tarot deck, I personally feel that this deck, the way it elicits emotion, the way that the faces are presented, the textures that come through in the background, sometimes they're plain, sometimes we have textures, the way that, you know, here the heads are tilted back, and they're eating grapes, and talk about, you know, being seduced and having fun and partying, basically. But what I found really interesting is that she kind of like makes me, how can I put it? Makes me join the deck, kind of thing. I feel like the energy of the deck. I feel like what's going on within the deck. I think that it's not just a tarot deck for me. It's an actual work of art, I guess. That's the best way I can put it. A lot of care has gone into it. Like I said before, she hasn't sat there and banged out a deck. Like, you know, sometimes we see artists just churning out deck after deck in a really quick succession. I really think this has taken time and a lot of thought into, you know, what botanical I'm going to use at each and every stage. So I'm going to talk about that in a moment, but I just wanted to do a proper walkthrough as I go through it. So she's really done that, you know, has taken the care to put into the presentation, the layouts and the contents. So yeah, and the guidebook is going to be really, really interesting when we get into it. So what I'm going to do is actually, in order to make sure that we get a good look at everything, I'm going to try and speed this up a bit. Or what I might do is, on the rare occasion, I'm going to kind of like take a reading for the guidebook, actually, from this point, because I think it'd be good just to have a look at one of the entries. So let's take the Page of Cups. Okay, so this is the guidebook, which I'm just going to read out the entry first, and then I'm going to go back and show you the whole layout of the guidebook, because it is pretty good, actually. Okay, so let's look at the Page of Cups. Here's the Knight, here's a page. Okay, so this is Hyacinth, and we get a page approximately. See, this is why I want to do a separate guidebook discussion, but let's just read this one out. It says, Hyacinth is the Eastern Mediterranean native that is to be beloved for its flower spike and intense aroma that are grown throughout most of Europe and parts of North America. This plant was incredibly popular in the 18th century, so much so that the Dutch grew over 2,000 cultivars of the common hyacinth. Hyacinthus was the name of a Spartan lover of the Greek god Apollo, from whence this name comes from. Apollo wanted nothing more than to enjoy life with this young hero, and this is where hyacinth becomes a symbol of jubilation and playful joy in the fields of an open mind and heart. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, she really marries the concept of Page of Cups with the flower and the story behind the flower and the myth behind the flower. I just think that's wonderful. I mean, that's why, you know, I say again that this creator put a lot of heart and soul, I think, into this deck. But perhaps, you know, this comes to them naturally, and they're going, well, actually, no, this is easy for me. I don't know, but I just really think that, yeah, this took time to create. So you can see here, it's very, very evocative. I see a lot here that is, will go into a dark shadow work for some people. I personally see this as a deck, for me, very, very empowering. This is a deck that's going to, like, this, for me, it says to me, this is where you're at, and this is what we're dealing with, and we need to go forward. Like, it's a deck that's like, it's not going to leave me sitting crying in my cups. This deck is also going to pull me out of the hole. So yeah, it's dark, but it's not going to leave me in a dark place. It's like, no, I'm giving you the energy and the power you know, to be your own princess and save yourself, basically. And I love that. I love that in a deck, which is so empowering. I think that as for me personally, as a woman, I really love that message that I'm receiving from it. I just really, really like how I get so much from each and every card. I mean, look at that Nine of Swords. Intricately done. All of these are hedge energies, witchy energies from a plant deck. And I just find it fascinating, basically. There's nothing more I can say. I'm going to try and speed it up a bit now. Sorry, I've gone on a bit here. But, I mean, look at that. That's teeth. And some of the kings are, by the way, male depiction, and some of them are female depiction. Take what resonates, right? I love it. I love all of it. So we don't get any alternates, and I'm happy with that, because I think that the creator's just done such a bang up job. I don't really need like different alternatives for these decks. I think they're just so powerful, and the cards, these are so powerful. Look at that Three of Pentacles. Look at that. You know, it's like a river of hair, basically, or a snake. I mean, it's coiling. It's just so, that root is coiling and it's growing out of her. It's just so, you know, she is needed to make that root work, to make it happen. Just such a clever deck. Very, very clever. So yeah, and as you can guess now already, each and every one of these botanicals, there is meaning behind it. So I mean, look at that blue, right? We've got these minty greens, and then we've got this blue. So clever. She's just, it's kind of like, it reminds me of, again, of a fashion collection that's been done very well, with the changes in the tones and the textures and the imagery even, and yet it's all cohesively coming into one. Look at that Queen of Pentacles. Isn't that stunning? And then here's the King. Okay, so we've gone through all the cards now, so that's great. So with that in mind, and you're all having to listen to me, I'd like to now look at the guidebook, actually. So because the guidebook for me, I'm just going to say this. This, I think, has had as much work as this. The guidebook has had a workout as much as the card deck. I mean, that is rare, I think, these days. I think that I'm just not seeing enough quality guidebooks, and this one is there. Okay, so there's been a lot of care put into the presentation and the layout. Straight off, we're going to see poetry, and that is just beautiful. I mean, the way that she sets out the poetry right at the beginning just tells me exactly what this deck is about, which is, it's a work of art, it's musings, it's going to play with my mind, you know. It's got that Page of Cups, that creative energy. It's like, come play with me. It's like the fish that's jumping out of the water, right? Just so good, so well done. There's reference to Juno and the myth of Juno. As you know, Juno is like a large asteroid around Jupiter, so it's quite interesting. And yeah, I mean, by the way, I was looking again, you know, I was being reminded, you know, Jupiter's a massive gas giant, and, you know, you kind of like float away. If you're on Jupiter, you just float about kind of thing. And this deck is very floaty, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, and so also I just want to say that there are other contributors to this deck. So there's someone called Sale Comito Garcia, I think that's how Garcia, and they contributed to all the plant info, which I'm going to show you. And then the poetry is by various authors. So we also have poetry in the middle. This is Annie J, and some of her poetry is in here. And then we have a lot of plant info. So I want to show you this particular plant. Okay, let's take the Tower. Let's see if we have some on the Tower, because some of them have very, very extensive plant information. Where is it? So we've seen already with the Page of Cups. This is the Moon. Sorry, going backwards. Here it is, and then I'm going to read out this bit. So it says here, Tower, Begonia. Now is the time to hibernate and cocoon. That's what's written here. It says state of mind. So I'm going to have to bring this up. State of mind in determining our ability to receive. Paranoia may convince you that a gift of hope is a warning or a traitor's kiss. Oh, it says, sorry. It's actually written as prose. Hold on a moment. State of mind determining our ability to receive. Paranoia may convince you that a gift of hope is a warning or a traitor's kiss, while grasping onto burning ropes, trying to hold up the tower that was once captured you. You are both the husband and the wife, the mistress and the minstrel that scaled and climbed to the heights you now fall from. The stamen, the ovule, the flower, the stem, and the roots are all within you. Your crystals are mistaken for mould or rot, but in the shade, the darkness of day, they sparkle. Could the catastrophe be the beginning of the bright days? Some things are built to break so they can nourish the soil for the next crop. A willing sacred sacrifice. The small sincere flower with many meanings blooms and dies every year over and over. Like Eurydice and Orpheus, the ending is the same every time. Yet we tell the story again and again as a cautionary tale, like the lesson cycles that spiral upward as we learn them, repeat at each new turn. Let your cells ring like bells in a garden. Before they divide and die, life is always renewing itself. I mean, that's beautiful. And then there's a poem by Annie Joy, and it says, start over every autumn when the days get colder and colder, drawing inward to cocoon and hibernate. It is a time of solitude and the comfort of one's own tending. Let yourself be completely dissolved in chrysalis, so when the darker days are done, there is rebirth. Wow, I'm sorry. I have to see, I mean, I just took that little bit from this guidebook and look how much you get. So that's why I really wanted to do a musings video on this deck, because it's just such a stunning deck. So now I'm going to show you some pairings as I do quintessentially, but you know, you might want to log off at this time, but I just want to say that this deck is, for me, a keeper, and not just a keeper. It's a bit like the Dark Days Tarot. I think it's going to have a little place in my soul, you know, a special place, because it's just done so well. So the very first pairing that I'm going to show you is from the Magickal Botanical Oracle. This is Maxine Miller and Christopher Penzak. This deck, I knew immediately was going to go with this deck. I just knew it before even this arrived in my, you know, when I ordered it. I just knew, they're going to go so well together. So let's have a look at that now. With the Magickal Botanical, again, I think I need to do a separate review on that. It's such a fantastic deck. I have to say one thing about this deck. I am not happy with the size of the cards, and I don't know if I probably others have said it, but I cannot believe that the guidebook has images that are bigger than the card. I mean, I want to write to Los Scarabea and say, what did you do when you made this deck? How could you take beautiful art like this and then squash it into these tiny cards? But okay, rant over. Now, this deck is interesting for me. I've been looking at it. I find it interesting how the correspondences have been done. But also what I absolutely love is the illustrations. So this deck was co-created, author and artist. They call it kind of like the Witches of the Garden. And when I was looking at how the Magickal Botanical transpired, it's really a lot about the communion with the garden. That's how I feel anyway. Listening to the garden, talking to the garden, sharing with the plants and the beings from that space. Our thoughts, our wishes, our dreams, allowing the botanicals to guide us, to show us where to go. And so I think this naturally goes so well with the Jupiter Power Tarot, for me anyway. And I was thinking about how I could really do an interesting reading with this deck. So let's do one for play. So what I was thinking was, let's just do a random one. So what do we have here? Datura. So this is a moon. It's like interesting. Okay, so we've got here already Venus. We've got Jupiter. We've got Saturn. We've got water energy, right? We've got the symbols here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this to the side for a moment. And what I was going to say, I don't want to take the Jupiter Power deck out of sync so much. So what I'm going to do is just say that, for example, randomly, we could take this card, and upon these symbols and upon the meaning here, and it says thorn apple, quite interesting, right? Let me just check the guidebook for a second. It's number 26. Oh, here we are, we're already there. So yeah, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, water, Latin name Datura stramone. I love the name of this flower, by the way, Datura. It is quite hypnotic though. Thorn apple is a powerful witching herb associated with all forms of magic, good and ill. It can be used to gain magical power as well as cast glamours and illusions. So let's say if you pull this out for a reading with just this specific card, what you could do is actually use these aspects as kind of like questions. So what would be corresponding with your actions to do with, let's say, Venus, which would be love, but also beauty, sensuality, wealth, assets and so forth. And randomly, if you draw it and you get the 5 of Cups, it tells you where you are with this Venusian energy. You could also then look at, let's say here we've got Jupiter, after Saturn we've got Jupiter. So randomly, if I opened the deck and if I pulled it out, perhaps with Jupiter I'm looking at moon energy, so I'm looking more at kind of like deception. Perhaps there's a deception going on about how I think I'm growing or celebrating. Perhaps there's a deception going on that's, I mean, Jupiter expands everything basically. So it's interesting that we get the moon here because it means there's an expansion of illusion perhaps going on. And then before that we had Saturn. So I'm going to randomly pull another card and see what I get. And I've got the King of Cups. Isn't it interesting? I've got such watery energy going on here. So with Saturn, I've also got King of Cups, which means that there's structure needed, but it's in a very, very watery area. And so this already gives me the grounds of a reading using this. And of course, here we have the water element. So isn't that strange and interesting how Datura pulls out all these water cards. So I was thinking that, I just show that that's a suggestion for a spread that you might want to do with these two together. Of course, if you don't have this deck, but you have another one and it has the elements or the astrology signs or other correspondences, again, you can use that as a jumping off point. And I think that the Jupiter Power Tarot, again, if you look at all of these properties, all of the botanicals that go with these cards, you've got then a very powerful botanical reading going on. So with the King of Cups, if I have a look, with the King of Cups, I've got here, oh no, that's the Swords. Oh, here we have the Cups. Okay, so the King of Cups we have here, European Rowan. The challenge of life are balanced by the benevolence bark and berries. And it sets us apart. So the European rowan sets itself apart from other trees, given its hardiness towards cold temperatures and high altitude. It can be found in the mythology and folk tales of the Norse and the British Isles, respectively. Readily apparent in the utility of this tree, as its various parts could be used for tools, dyes, runic inscription, jam, and even the making of alcoholic drinks. Most notably, though, it's believed that it offers protection from magic, particularly witchcraft. Considering how much use people have for this tree, it can be presumed that those who work with the European rowan found a semblance of balance as this plant assuages the hardships of life. So isn't that interesting, right? That we've pulled such a watery reading and now we've got a flower that is about protection, hardiness, really making it through rough seas. And I pull this out in correspondence, I think it was to the Saturn aspect of this card, as I recall. Sorry, I'm doing this on the fly. So isn't that interesting how, it really can be used to amalgamate so much into a reading if you were interested, if you were drawn to do that, of course. But I thought I would show that because it just, again, proves so much, right, that when we have these decks, I personally find it very easy to not really use a deck to its maximum. Sorry, you're probably seeing all of that going on here. I find it very easy to miss the opportunity that one deck gives, and yet it gives us so much. I think one deck can give us, like, you can keep playing with this deck for weeks or for months or years and not be bored with it. So, for me, this is an excellent deck. So it goes here. I want to keep them in order. But this is an excellent deck in that sense. Okay, so I've shown you the Magickal, Botanical. Another deck that came to mind for me, and it was a bit of an interesting walk here I'm doing, is where is it? Okay, so this one came to mind, which is the Talisman Oracle. Again, I think there was something about the aesthetics. Now this one, you can do a very, very easy reading with this one, I think. And I'm just going to show kind of like a left to right reading that you could do. It's like a walking story. So for example, if you had drawn, let's say, I'm just going to cut this on half a bit for a second. So let's say if you've drawn here, oh, wait, get it the right way around. Good luck. And this is the start of your story. You could then actually add one of the tarot cards to it. And then you have here grounding. Oh, that's what's wrong here. And here I can put the 10 of Cups, and here again I have passion. And so I personally think this is a very easy reading I could do with this deck, because I've got some key words here: grounding, good luck, grounding, and passion. I've got a very positive message coming through, and I've also here put 9 of Cups and the 10 of Cups. And again, using the botanical energies of these two, I could actually make an interplay of where I'm going. Again, you can do this with any deck actually, but I'm just trying to show you with the Jupiter Power Tarot, because you know these cards in particular have so much information regarding the plant properties. I just think it's a cool way to use the deck in different aspects and mixing it up with Oracle. So we don't just do the usual, you know, here's the Oracle in the middle and 2 tarot cards on the side and all of that going on. It's really just kind of like interplaying the different energies together. So that was with the Talisman Oracle. You can do that with another symbol deck if you have one. Again, just doing kind of like a waterfall reading style. And then finally, the other pairing that I wanted to quickly show, I'm going to wrap this up then soon, is, which one was it again? See, I've got so many. I'm going to show you this one, and that's going to be the last one. And that's with the Loputyn Oracle. Now, this oracle, of course, I think it's very particular. It's not probably going to be for everyone. It has very, very dark energies in it, of course. It is kind of like a very storytell deck. I'm going to be careful what card I pull, because I don't want to show any nudity. But I do find that this deck is excellent. Let's take this one because it was at the top here, so it's easy. This deck is excellent, of course, for shadow work, and so it's going to be the Jupiter Tarot. So let's say if you had pulled this number 14 in the Loputyn Oracle deck, this card in particular talks about, let's see, what does it talk about, number 14? So it talks about resistance. By shunning temptation, you enter stealth mode, moving silently and proceeding undisturbed along your way. You need to have all your senses alert and not be disturbed by anything or anyone, so that you don't fall for the lure of the outside world and can ground yourself. This is not the time for speculation, nor is the time for seduction or dreams and illusions. So this is really about being grounded, being calm, keeping to yourself, doing what needs to be done, moving stealthily. And then again, if you just pulled a few cards, you know, you might have here 5 of Pentacles, so you're looking at a situation where you're feeling scared. You might have 7 of Wands, so there's a lot of defensiveness going on. And then again, you know, randomly pulling, I have here the Strength card, so one has the courage to get through. And then again, if we draw upon these botanical properties, there's going to be such a wealth of information coming out of this deck. And I just wanted to show that, because I think that with certain decks, we can really get a richness of the energies that we're working with, the correspondences, and also just, you know, allowing yourself to just journal a little bit. I think the Jupiter Power Tarot is going to be an excellent, excellent deck to journal with. That's for sure. So if you're somebody who likes to sit and journal and look at what comes up when you're working with the cards, then definitely would recommend this. So I'm going to start putting everything away now. So I would love to hear if you have, let me put this to the side, sorry for a second. I would love to hear if you have this deck already, or if you're thinking of getting it, what your thoughts are on it. If there's any hesitation, that would also be interesting. I do know that it's a very acquired taste deck. I think that's how I'm going to put it. It's not going to appeal to everyone. I get that. But for me, I just, there's something about all of this whole deck which just, I saw it and I just thought, how can I work with this? My mind just raced into like, what can I do with this? Because it's so beautiful. And yeah, it's got a little piece of my soul already, as you can hear. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you to the creators from Six Sad Girls for making this deck. I really love it. I also have already thoughts on doing musings around one of their other decks. So if you're interested, please do hang around and subscribe to my channel. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful week wherever you are, and take care now.